Well, good afternoon to everyone. Just after having and listening the high levels of minister, the head of the commission, head of the regulatory authority, and also the director general of the IRENA, La Camera, and just having their just deep insights regarding the Turkish market and the global issues, just the hot topic. Not easy actually to just get the full just attraction of the audience, but thanks for coming. We have here a session with our just very experienced four diplomats, we will have just a compact just panel, and we will discuss the Turkey and the strategic partners in the area of the energy security. Of course, I will take the comments of the valuable ambassadors regarding the recent conflicts in the region and its effects to the energy sector, to the renewable energy sector, and on the wind energy sector, and maybe regarding the cooperation opportunities, what can be done to enhance the cooperation between Turkey and the respective countries. As mentioned, our minister also, we are experiencing one of the biggest energy crises of the recent history. The hot topic for every energy-related gatherings these days is the war in our region, and these developments have huge impacts on oil and gas in various ways, but supply security and price volatility are the major ones. Before just the 28th of February, actually, International Energy Agency just announced a report, and they said that in 2026, as regards the gas side, it will be the buyer's year, the buyer's market, because according to their calculations, there will be just extra and just surplus gas will be just supplied to the market. But after the 28th of February, unfortunately, probably they will just reevaluate their studies and just activities, because as Turkey, as an import-dependent country, mainly on the oil and gas, although we are producing our own gas in the Black Sea, but not sufficient to meet all the demands. We are not, thanks God, that we are not depending on the Hormuz region as regards the gas side. We don't have any problem for the time being just for securing the supply of oil and gas, but of course, unfortunately, the oil and gas prices affects and will affect most probably our economy, because since the initiation of the war, the oil prices increased more than 50%. The gas prices in the Dutch TTF market increased more than 60%. And several countries are being just realizing the effects of the high prices. Today, as I said, we have valuable ambassadors with us, and I would like to take your comments, and by starting and making a positive discrimination to the Madam Ambassador, start with her. Your comments as a first question. In the light of the ongoing global energy crisis, how do you evaluate its impact on the global energy system? And more specifically, what is the strategic role of renewable energy, especially wind energy, in ensuring supply security and building a more resilient and decarbonized future for your country's targets? Madam Ambassador, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and let me first thank you for bringing this together here. I think you started with a very, very substantial opening segment. I think I've rarely heard so much really substantial and informative speeches, and in a way everything has been said, and now our task will be not to be redundant. Redundancies, I try to avoid them. I have to thank you as well, because we are discussing these questions strategically, because I think that's absolutely necessary these days. When, if not now, is the time to reduce dependencies on fossil fuels and to heavily invest into energy security? We all know the background geopolitically. We've known for quite some time that it is absolutely important to invest in renewables, and of course wind is at the very center of it. Naturally, renewables are now at the very center of all our activities and must be, and therefore this conference, TÜREC, has gained even more significance. So let me make a few remarks from a German point of view. It's important that today's discussions focus once again on diversification and the expansion of the renewable energies. This is, from a German perspective, all the more important as German companies represent roughly half of the Turkish wind energy market. And I'm very happy to see very many familiar faces here in the audience today. You might know that the motto of my government that came in office last year is the pursuit of freedom, security, and prosperity. That sounds very much aloof, but it is not, because if you want to achieve freedom, security, and prosperity, this requires climate action, as climate change threatens both international peace and economic capabilities. And this is also reflected on the UN level when we talk about the nexus of climate, peace, and security. And I think all the examples we have heard in the opening speeches of why it is important to go for the energy transition are underlining that exact point. And the Gulf crisis puts it into the spotlight once again. How can we create peace and security, but also how can we reduce the vulnerability of our economies and our dependence on fossil fuels? Climate policy, including energy as well as industrial policy, are vital elements on this path. And now we need to get the balance right. Energy transition on the one hand, but also on the other hand, a successful industrial policy within this framework. Climate energy policies not only enhance our resilience, they protect our livelihoods, they create jobs, they foster industries of the future. And all these aspects must be thought together. You know that Germany is deeply committed to climate action, and in this area we have a lot of activities. We are hosting the UN Climate Change Secretariat. We have founded the Climate Club in 2022 within the framework of the G7, but by now plus more than 20 other countries, among them Turkey. We annually hosting the Petersberg Climate Dialogue preparing the COP. So this year we prepared COP31 only 3 weeks ago in Berlin. We are very much invested in offshore energy together with our Danish, our Dutch, other countries around the North Sea and the Baltic Sea, and only in January in Hamburg we came together to see how we can foster offshore wind energy. COP31 was mentioned many times this morning by our speakers, and of course it bears the chance to make progress in climate policy as such, of course, but also in clean tech. And this, I think, shows the balance I'm trying to make when I say industrial policy and energy transition are intertwined and you cannot separate it. One other thought in this dimension is, of course, that overall, globally, the cost of non-action is not discussed enough. We are preaching among the converted that renewables and among renewables, wind energy are the way forward, and that this is the way to secure our prosperity, to be successful, innovative, and competitive. But on the other hand, we see out there a huge discussion among other stakeholders who think, well, let's step back a little, it's all by far too expensive. I would say this is entirely the wrong discussion. If you see the very impressive numbers of investments of jobs in clean tech, in innovative industries, in renewable industries, and in climate transition as such, you cannot uphold such a thesis. On the other hand, as I said, in the public discussion, there is not a very strong voice pointing to the fact that the cost of inaction is by far higher than the investment we need for successful energy transition. And I think that this is a message that we all, you from the industry and from the federations, us from our diplomatic point of view, should raise much more in conversations with headquarters, in conversations with investors, in conversations with our governments, in conversations with Brussels. As you know, we are part of the European Union, and the European Union is extremely active in that area. What I would like to say as well is one point that was mentioned by Saeed in his speech. He alluded to the Made in Europe activities in the European Union, also known under the title Industrial Accelerator Act. Together with the Turkish government, together with other governments of important international partners outside the EU, we have been successful in including Turkey in the so-called IAA. That is a very important step, specifically because our industries as such are very much intertwined, but particularly because the wind energy market is a specifically strong example of this very, very close connection. We will continue to see that the ambiguities that are in this text are being dealt with, are being worked on, and I'm really confident that we can keep the text as it is now under discussion. It's a draft in Brussels, that we can keep and defend this text, which is important. Let me say that, of course, all the steps ahead of us are not really easy. And I'm not saying that the energy transition comes at low cost or no cost. For example, if we take grid expansion, the costs are high, but they are of course unavoidable. And significant investments are needed here. I'm not denying that. But again, compared to inaction, it is quite a good bargain. And the second point on more detail I would like to make is appropriate legislation. You know that so far we have no functioning market with reliable electricity prices or electricity prices that are genuinely created by market rules. The legislation in all countries that go forward with increasing the part of electricity in their mix need to have such a concrete market because this is the only way to create efficiency and to have a kind of a free area where companies can calculate the prices they will gain through their activities. So let me stop here because I think in the second part you will come to bilateral relations and what we can do, and this is, I would like to elaborate on that later.
Well, thank you, Madam Ambassador. That you touched several just important topics, and just especially on the importance of the successful industrial policy regarding the investments in mainly on the energy sector. As Turkey, actually, we have been just in 2011 we brought the local manufacturing bonus while just supporting the renewable energy systems. If you just utilize or purchase the locally manufactured equipment, we provide additional bonus to the investor. Although EU criticized Turkey, you cannot make any differentiation by a local manufacturer or a foreign manufacturer. Since 2011, just we are continuing this methodology. By this way, a significant just industrial capability are being just developed in Turkey, of course, with the support of our the German colleagues. Just now, I'll just to give the floor our just ambassador from UAE to listen their comments. Thank you.
First of all, thank you very much for having us here today. I think it is very important subject to talk about the renewable energy, especially the wind energy. As we know, the global energy crisis has served as a profound wake-up call, fundamentally shifting our perspective from viewing the energy transition solely through the lens of climate change to what we call it viewing as a matter of national and collective security. We have learned that over-reliance on our violated supply chain is a vulnerability. For the UAE, the impact has catalytic accelerated our comprehensive energy provider as a strategy. Our recent sovereign decision to exit the OPEC and OPEC Plus reflects this. We are prioritizing the flexibility to invest and produce where the market and our national interest intersect. It is very important. UAE investing in the fossil fuel and UAE investing in the renewable energy. Wind is one of the important energy that we concentrate. We have investment in all over the world globally. So I think it is very important, especially wind energy serves as a cornerstone for resilience because it offers domestic energy sovereignty. Unlike fossil fuel, the fuel, wind, and the wind itself is not subject to geopolitical blockades or price shocks at the source itself. By integrating large scale of wind projects such as those Masdar is developing globally, we are not just decarbonizing, but we are also de-risking the energy system. Our target is triple renewable capacity by 2030, which this is one of our aims in the UAE. And wind diplomacy is the vehicle that ensures this transition is both stable and affordable. It is very important just to emphasize, and I do agree with Her Excellency, that it is very important to have a different kind of source of energy, especially concentrating on the renewable. We in the COP28 in UAE and the UAE consensus concentrating on the renewable energy, and I think inshallah and COP31 and Turkey also will have that issue. This is our point of view about the crisis itself. Of course, the Strait of Hormuz is very important. The maritime navigation and movement is very important to make it free. So this is our perspective on this subject. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ambassador. As during the opening speech, Mr. La Camera, the Director General of IRENA, said that the costs of just on the renewable side, the construction cost, the installation cost has been decreasing, and hopefully after just having the stabilization in the region, hopefully this conflict will not affect too much in a negative way the cost and the targets of the countries just regarding the net zero will continue to invest more on the renewables, more clean sources, and just to reach their envisaged targets. Now I'd like to give the floor to Ambassador TOFT. I know Denmark has an ambitious renewables target, although the share of renewables is high. If I'm not mistaken, by 2027, 100% renewable share target is being just announced by the Danish government. But if you can share your comments regarding the conflicts in relation with the renewables, we'll be glad. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And let me say, but for the moment, for some decades into the future, Denmark will, just like Turkey, we will be producing oil and gas for several decades yet. But it's true, we believe strongly in the need to make a full-scale transition of our energy sector. as you said at the beginning here, we are facing a very volatile and turbulent time in the world energy markets. Of course, hopefully, markets will restore and calm down again. But I think policymakers all over the world will, after this crisis and this turmoil, all feel that they will have to do more with regard to energy security, energy independence, and resilience of their energy systems. That's also the belief we have in Denmark. And we also believe that renewable energy must be an important tool in creating this kind of a stronger and more resilient energy system, both in the individual countries and amongst countries. And we do so for three main reasons. Firstly, any investment in renewable energy is by nature an investment in domestic energy resources. The sun and the wind that you have on your own soil belongs to you. Secondly, and this is maybe the most important thing, investing in renewable energy today, and especially in onshore wind and sun, is the cheapest way to invest in more energy in most cases. This is something that has changed over a relatively short period of time, but today it is important to understand that investing in renewable energy, onshore wind and sun, is cheap and cost efficient. And then the third thing I will mention is that an investment in renewable energy is not only an investment here today, it is also an investment in the future, because it will, all things equal, reduce the impact of the climate changes that we are already facing today, and that will be an even harder challenge for us in the future. So any investment in renewable energy today is also an investment in reducing the impact of climate changes. And any, you could say, decision not to invest in renewable energy today is a decision to send a bill to our children and grandchildren. And I'm very happy to hear here today in the speeches how committed policymakers here in Turkey seems to be on diversifying your energy supply and investing in renewable energy. It's very positive, and it's also what I can see in your energy policies, that you are on this track. And does this make sense? Yes, it does. And let me tell you a story from Denmark. I'm so old that I still remember the big oil crisis in the 1970s. I was only a kid then, but my father, he was the manager at the biggest oil refinery in Denmark. So I had the opportunity to experience this on close hand. And at that time, Denmark was totally dependent on imported oil. And it was a big, big shock for our small country when the market suddenly turned around. But it made us changing our energy system. Firstly, we started investing in developing our oil and gas in the North Sea, which was a good decision. And secondly, we started developing and investing in renewable energy, which was maybe an even better decision. And that was also the start of the Danish wind industry. Last week, I read a report showing that in the current crisis, the Danish economy is one of the least challenged economies in the world, now in the situation where we are now with turmoil in the energy markets, because we have built up a system that has a lot of diversified energy sources, that has a great deal of resilience. And I can only encourage you here in Turkey to follow the track that you have already started developing, that diversifying your energy sources and investing in renewables. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ambassador TOFT. As you just rightly mentioned, just as in Turkey also, we are just focusing on just while investing on the renewables and energy efficiency, and also just trying to diversify our energy mix, because the renewables are the intermittent sources of the energy. In that regard, with pure renewables, with the current technologies, let me say, we believe we cannot just feed Turkey on the renewables with the current technologies. So we have been continuing investing on the CCGT gas side. Moreover, we need baseload power plants, and if we cannot construct new coal-based power plants with the current technology, it is decided to include the nuclear to our energy mix. So with this diversified portfolio, we are trying to reach our net zero target. Coming to the Dutch ambassador, Netherlands is one of the pioneer countries actually on the offshore wind side, and of course on the renewable side. Can we have your comments regarding our general evaluations? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation, and congratulations to Hareb for the 15th edition of this important Congress. Security, including energy security, is clearly not a given. I think we all realize that fully. The Netherlands too, despite operating in a completely different security environment than, for example, this country, for us too, it is clear that it is not a given, and how much you have to invest in security, including energy security. And that has a lot to do, if not everything, with reducing dependencies. Dependencies on countries, whether it is for security, hard security, military security, whether it is for critical raw materials, or whether it is for energy. And indeed, diversifying within your energy mix. I agree with the importance of renewable energy, so I'm not going to repeat what the previous speakers have said on that. It is, I fully subscribe, my government fully subscribes to the importance of that. Looking at the role of Turkey, we see this as a crucial one, also in the field of energy, which of course has everything to do with the location. That cannot be overlooked, with the size, with the potential of the market, with the manufacturing capabilities in this country. Indeed, with the ambition it has, as is being shown today, and also with a view to the COP in Antalya. And therefore, I think the partnership with Turkey is a crucial one and should be expanded in the field of security, starting with a proper EU-Turkey energy dialogue. Because in the end, I think it is important to realize that if the European Union wants to be more of a geopolitical, geo-economical player, and that is the goal, that we do need our strategic partners, the non-EU strategic partners, whether it's the UK, whether it's Turkey, for that. And again, that includes energy, absolutely. You mentioned the role of the Netherlands when it comes to wind energy specifically. Indeed, we have quite a history with wind energy and with water as well, the sea. The history with the sea has shaped us. A country that for almost 1/3 of its territory lies below sea level knows what threat the sea can bring, but also what the opportunities the sea brings with it. And that includes the wind. You might all know that apart from wooden shoes and cheese and tulips, and the tulips actually being our national symbol, we owe that to the fact that Turkish merchants brought it to the Netherlands ages ago, but that we are also known for our windmills. And these windmills ages ago were not put there as a touristic attraction. Back then already they were part of our infrastructure, dealing with the challenges that we were facing. And we used the wind in these windmills to pump up the water and to manage the polders to gaining land from the sea. Innovation avant la lettre, if you will. And that is exactly what we are continuing to do and doing right now with our wind energy offshore. But it's clearly more than building the turbines and generating. It has a lot to do with the ecosystem. And even back in the ages of the windmills, we were aware of just that, aware of the fact that you need to build institutions, infrastructure, need to connect with ports, include storage, public acceptance, spatial planning, all these elements, especially in a country where we are dealing with a very limited amount of surface. We also include in our approach very much how to use space in the best way. And so it is also important where you place these turbines, whether at sea or on land. But building this ecosystem, making sure that cooperation between all the stakeholders, whether it's government, whether it's business, whether it's academia, I think that brought us to a system in which the Netherlands is able, with this small piece of territory and only 18 million inhabitants, to actually be the 17th biggest economy in the world. And we translate that into our innovative approach, into our cooperation with partners within the Netherlands and abroad, and with long-term thinking.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Now I'd like to just come to the second round of questions, maybe to focusing more on the bilateral just cooperation within the energy sector or renewable sector, or on the wind energy sector. Germany, we know that is the number one in Europe on the just installations of renewable energies and the share of the installed renewable capacity. And if I'm not mistaken, about the half of it, the more than 60% is renewable, and half of it, I think, just wind energy as regards the installed capacity. And several just German companies are active in Turkey, and just we're hoping to have more just both on the manufacturing side, on the investor side, to see the German companies. While taking into consideration this, the current geopolitical landscape, what can be done to develop or the enhance cooperation between our country, Turkey, and your country on the energy sector? Thank you.
Thank you very much. My answer would be that we simply pick up the opportunities that lie ahead of us. So first of all, as you said, we have had since now a very successful cooperation in wind energy. Now, as the minister pointed out in his speech this morning, offshore is the next stopover, is the next big issue here in Turkey. And I'm very confident that, and I heard this already also from our companies, that there are very fruitful discussions going on how these offshore plans and projects could be realized to the mutual benefit. That's one thing. The other thing, I think, is that we focus together on the economic environment, meaning in this context that we look together into EU policies and make sure that you as companies, we as governments, come up with the same messages towards Brussels and other member states and competitors, what is needed to be done for wind energy and for the energy transition. This common messaging is extremely important to flesh out and to put the focus on common economic interests. Next point is we are working towards our next JETCO, and we are working towards our next energy forum, which should take place in June. And I'm very happy that we already started the cooperation with the companies, but this is another chance to look very carefully and very intensely into the chances we have and to come to detailed conclusions how to proceed. Next, COP31 was mentioned many times. The Turkish goals that were communicated to us and that you are familiar with them are, among others, zero waste, energy transition, green industrialization, climate finance, and there are more goals, of course. But the important thing is this is a huge opportunity for our companies, for Turkish companies, German companies, to come together in Antalya and look into these opportunities in more detail. The embassy will be present there. We will have a German pavilion, and we will, of course, have in the run-up to Antalya a lot of activities within the framework of our climate talks to dive into specific areas of energy transition and cooperation so that we are well prepared to really come to quick results. Maybe one last remark from my side concerning your question that is related to what I said earlier. If we look at the geographical position of Turkey on the map, this makes Turkey politically, geostrategically, geoeconomically, geopolitically a very important player, and I could continue. It is also, of course, a difficult situation for a Minister of Energy who is not only Minister of Wind and Sun. He's the Minister of Energy, and this is reflected in more or less all of our countries. The Minister of Energy is being lobbied from all kinds of interests when it comes to energy. And therefore, I think, once again, also our chances from cooperating in the wind area depend on how convincing we are to make the case for renewables. And we should always come from two aspects, from the climate aspect, as we know, but also from the aspect of prosperity, competitiveness, and innovation, and therefore the economic arguments. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. As you rightly mentioned, in the 19th of June, two ministers will meet officially for the first time in Ankara. Just hopefully, they will discuss deeply the upcoming cooperation opportunities. Maybe just as our minister mentioned, during COP or before COP, we're expecting to sign some additional investment agreements with several countries, several companies. Hopefully, we will see more concrete the German cooperation within that COP 31. And moreover, actually, with our UAE colleagues, actually before COP, we are also expecting to have some an intergovernmental agreement. In Turkey, we have been realizing renewable investments with different business models. One, small scale, unlicensed or self-consumption model. Secondly, we have been organizing tenders mainly on the wind and solar side. And the third one is the intergovernmental agreement model, of which in February, we signed with Saudi government for the first one for 2 gigawatts of PV power plants. And the negotiations with Masdar, the negotiations have been ongoing, and hopefully before COP, we are expecting them to be finalized and signed. What will you say, Mr. Ambassador?
Well, first of all, the relation between UAE and Turkey is going these current days on the highest level, especially in the economic sections. The synergy also between the UAE and Turkey is a powerful example of what I call a strategic complementarity. Turkey is not just a geographical bridge between East and West. It is becoming a formidable and industrial hub for green transition. Deepening our relation provides 3 specific mutual advantages, one of which is supply chain resilience. Turkey growing manufacturing capacity for wind turbines and components is vital for the UAE investors and developers like Masdar. Having a reliable, high-quality manufacturing partner nearby reduce the logistical risk as we've seen now in the crisis of what is happening in the Middle East, and also the cost associated with the transnational shipping. That this is one of the more important things that we emphasize on. Also, the energy corridor visions. We talked about the corridor, the green corridor. I think this is a very important. Turkey's location, as Her Excellency mentioned, is a very strategic location, makes it a natural gateway for cross borders and also electricity trade. By connecting UAE-backed projects in the Caspian, we have some projects in the Caspian and the Mediterranean to the European grid via Turkey. We create a green corridor that enhances the energy security of the entire region. On the other hand, and the third point, I would like to also emphasize on the offshore innovation. As we look towards the Black Sea and the Caspian offshore potential, combining the UAE capital and the global expertise with Turkey maritime capabilities, and also local knowledge creates a competitive edge that neither of us could achieve alone. So cooperation together is a very important. A win-win is a very important, and this is one of these things. Under the framework of our comprehensive economic agreement, partnership agreement, the CEPA, we are moving beyond simple trade to deep industrial integration, and also together we are not just navigating the era of energy security, we are defining it. So it is very important just to emphasize the importance of cooperation in this field and renewable energy, and so also to just emphasize on the security of energy. Just going back to the first question, just to emphasize that is going and shifting to the renewable energy, we need to sort the cause of the high prices happening now in the region, the blocking the Strait of Hormuz, which raising the prices. I think sorting that dilemma, it is very important, because all factories now manufacturing the turbines, manufacturing the components of the renewable energy depends on gas and oil, which I think that will add more on the cost of the energy. So I think it is in line together. So, just going back to our relation, alhamdulillah, we say, it is in the highest level. And we are sure that this sector, especially the wind energy, and inshallah with Masdar signing the agreement, we will have a successful cooperation and a win-win with Turkey, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. As you touched upon, just on the Caspian region has a high renewable potential, and we are also in discussion with just Azeris over there, and invest to realize the investments on the renewable side. But just investing on the just PV panels and the wind turbines will not be sufficient, as just Madam Ambassador mentioned. The grid is an important problem, maybe, because just installing the PV panels is the easiest way. But if you cannot if you don't have a reinforced grid, or if you could not finalize on time the sufficient investments on the infrastructure on the grid side, it will not be just usable for the envisaged targets. So in Turkey, while trying to reinforce our grid internal, we are also trying to increase the interconnection capacities with our neighbors on the eastern side, with Azeris, with Georgians, and on the western side we have 2 lines with Bulgaria, 1 line with Greece. It is decided to double the capacities over there. So by this way, more green energy can be transformed from the sources to the biggest consumer, Europe. Ambassador TOFT, although between Turkey and Denmark we have good ongoing relations on the energy efficiency and the district heating, and also on the wind side, just can we have your comments? What can be done more to enhance cooperation?
Thank you very much. Yes, I definitely think we can do more, and I hope that we later this year, when we have a new government in Denmark, we can decide on continuing and developing our government-to-government cooperation between Turkey and Denmark, maybe also looking into the wind energy sector. And in general, I think we all agree that there is a need for stronger cooperation, both between governments but also in the private sector. And I'm very, very happy to see that we have so many European companies here at the conference. And I'm also glad to say that I think we have the largest group of Danish companies participating that we have had in many, many years. And I can feel that in the Danish wind industry there is a growing interest and growing understanding of the importance of Turkey as both a market and a production country. You also mentioned the importance of interconnectors, and I fully agree. And it is our experience in Denmark that investing in interconnectors to your neighboring countries, it's not a zero-sum game. It's always, I would say, proven for us to be a plus-sum game that will benefit both sides, because it gives you the flexibility and the opportunity to operate in a more efficient way, and that's important when you are dealing with electricity. And I mean, we have interconnectors to all our neighboring states. We have even recently, a few years ago, finalized an undersea cable to the UK that's 765 kilometers long. That's a pretty long interconnector. It's a Viking link, and it also functions to the benefit of both sides. So I can only encourage you to develop that ambition. Thank you.
I think just Netherlands have also just similar experiences on the grid side, also on the while connecting the high renewables, and just how can Turkey and Netherlands cooperate within that concept?
Yes, thank you. Indeed, energy cooperation and doing business, especially also in the renewable energy sector, is very much at the focus right now of our bilateral relationship. The fundament for that cooperation is very strong, I would say, going back more than 400 years of doing business together, being, according to Turkish statistics, in the past years, the biggest foreign direct investor in Turkey. 3,000 Dutch companies being represented also in the field of energy in this country. So the fundament for that partnership is strong, and we are building just on top of that. And we do that in many ways, because we both see the added value for both sides. That includes the fact that we are hoping to sign a letter of intent on energy cooperation government to government later this year. That includes the fact that energy is an important topic in the JETCO that will take place before summer in Amsterdam. That includes, for example, also the fact that we are undertaking market studies, of course, and that we had a very substantial, important TUREP mission 2 months ago to the Netherlands, consisting of more than 70 stakeholders, which was very concrete in actually finding the links between the two countries, and we found out that there are even more than we had already thought of. So that offers a very, very strong fundament, but also a very strong practice already as we are speaking in the field of energy cooperation and especially in renewables between the two countries. Very promising indeed.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. I think we are coming to the end of our session slowly. Are there any questions from the audience to our panelists? Or if not, I'll have just a short question just to sum up. We talk all about the investments to reaching the net zero, to the energy transition, but while taking into consideration the current geopolitical tension, can you just shortly share your evaluation about the cost of capital from now on and its effect to the envisaged investments shortly?
Look, you could have a lecture at university on this question, but I try to be very short. As I said, I think the volume of the investments we get will depend on our arguments for making the case for renewables. And as I said at the very beginning, what if not now, against the backdrop of the international situation? So let's really go all in with regard to this investment, and let's get the balance right between investment and supporting the industries. That is, I think, very, very important. In the end, and we did not talk about the elephant in the room, and I now mention the elephant in the room, we did not mention China. Nobody was asking about China. But this, I think, is extremely important, and I hope some of our Chinese friends somewhere there will be a Chinese friend here in the audience or outside. Investment will also depend on how flexible and how innovative we are also on thinking about finances. It is entirely clear that, for example, the German government has instruments to support industry, and we do that. But we will not be able to subsidize in a manner that just out-finances competition in this market. And the competition is dire. And I think the answer to that must be a combination of tools. We need to continue to support, yes. But on the other hand, I think we also need to make good arguments for new instruments. And we need to also use the flexibility and the innovation capacities of all our companies, because in the end, the package they will provide, from the first to the very last element of a wind energy deal, will decide in the future whether we can continue our cooperation on the same level or whether we have to give in to some part of the competition. This is not a short answer to your question, but I think we should have mentioned that, because otherwise the picture would not be complete.
Well, I think investment in the renewable energy and wind energy is a must. Is not a choice, I think. Especially what we're seeing now in the whole region. As also mentioned before, that when you have your local energy generators that prevent you from blockade somewhere else, so I think you will have your your own capability of creating energy. As the UAE, we started long time ago to invest in the renewable energy. We invested in the renewable and the solar energy and also in the wind energy. And also now we are going with what we call it the light energy. There is to use the sunlight energy of that sector. So in this sector, yes, I do agree that to start today is better than starting tomorrow. Starting yesterday, more better than today. So I'm with this point that it is very important to encourage also the companies. The companies sometimes they need the easy way to put their capital and business done. But we have to encourage them that this is the future of a sector that has a lot of wins and a lot of investment in it and income. So I do agree, yes, and hopefully all the companies trying to also innovate, softer turbines for the wind to generate more energy instead of having strong winds. This is a very important point, I think. And also for the countries that those who don't have winds, I think having a third country or let's say another place to invest is very important also. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. I agree that with energy, just like with almost everything in this world, financing is a core issue, and it's of course a challenge. But I still think that there are many reasons that we will see investments in renewable energy grow, also in this country and in this part of the world. Firstly, as I said earlier today, renewable energy, especially solar and onshore wind, are actually a very cost-efficient investment. It's the cheapest way to build new energy, and we will need a lot of new electricity in the coming decades. And onshore wind and solar, and also as the industry develops, offshore wind will become competitive, more and more so. Secondly, although those of you working in the industry, you would probably say that it's quite complicated to build a wind farm, paperwork and technical work, but it's still much faster to build 1.5 or 2 gigawatt of onshore wind or solar panels than it is to build a nuclear power plant. And I think also timing is an important argument for the investing in renewables. And thirdly, I think also we will see in the coming decades, we already see it today, but it will only become stronger, a public demand for making sure that products are produced in a climate-friendly way. We are only seeing the beginning of the problems of climate change, and already now, wildfires and lack of water and things like that, it makes people angry. And water management is on the bottom of the priority list of politicians until the moment that there are no drinking water for people in a city. Then it's on top of the agenda. And I think we will only see this pressure for climate-friendly investments growing in the coming decades. Thank you.
Thank you. In addition to what my colleagues have said, and I agree to their analysis, let me say, coming from a country that earns 1/3 of its national income doing business abroad, knowing how dependent we are on peace and stability, international order in the world for doing business, that in the end, governments, despite the difficult times we are in right now, shouldn't give up on working on an international order, on multilateralism that right now is not at its best, to put it mildly, because in the end that is what we need for protecting investors, for our investments, and indeed giving renewable energy the full chance it deserves. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your valuable insights. I think the time is up for us because there's another panel afterwards. I would like to thank all our valuable and experienced ambassadors, and moreover, I would like to thank this audience during this lunchtime. You preferred listening us. Thank you all again.
Evet. Bizler de sizlere çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Şimdi efendim siz Sayın Öztürk, SELVİTOP değerli konuşmacılarımıza öncelikle tabii ki sertifikalarını takdim edeceksiniz müsaadenizle. İsterseniz iPad'inizi bırakın. Evet, Almanya Federal Büyükelçisi Sibylle Katharina Zorga efendim takdimlerini yapacaklar Sayın SELVİTOP. Bu arada for your participation to the 15th Turkish Wind Energy Congress, we donated to your name 350 birds to wildlife ecosystem. Name of the birds Sülün 175 and Keklik 175. And forest fire in Turkey last year, we lost not only trees, also we lost animals in the wildlife. So it's very important to deliver and to share this certificate for you. And I would like to introduce this certificate meaning. Evet, İbrahim Bey de sağ olsunlar, TÜREP Başkanımız da hemen geldiler, Yönetim Kurulu Başkanımız da. Birlikte Sayın Büyükelçilerimizle beraber hem Sayın SELVİTOP hem de TÜREP Başkanımız birlikte bu aslında çok kıymetli sertifikalarını takdim ediyorlar. Az önce de ifade ettik, yani geçtiğimiz yıl ciğerlerimiz çok yandı. Biz bir enerji zirvesiyiz ve temiz enerjiden bahsediyoruz. Ormanlarımız da sonuçta bizlerin bir temiz enerjisi. O yüzden bu yangınlarda sadece ağaçları, ormanlarımızı kaybetmedik. O ormanların içindeki ekosistemdeki bulunan hayvanları da kaybettik. Bunun çok değerli bir sertifika olduğunu da söyleyelim. Yine açılış konuşmalarında biliyorsunuz sadece işte 350 kuştan ziyade ayrıca işte ceylanları da takdim ettik. Hem Sayın Bakanımıza hem de açılış konuşmalarındaki diğer kıymetli konuşmacılarımıza. Tuna Bey, sizi de alabilir miyiz? TÜREP Denetim Kurulu üyemiz Tuna Güven'i de davet edelim. Onu da efendim Öztürk SELVİTOP size efendim takdim edilecek. Onu da kusura bakmayın bu güzel sertifika olunca insan, hani kuş olunca insanın havalanısı geliyor. Bir an böyle heyecandan biz de böyle havalanıyoruz ama hakikaten çok ince, çok zarif düşünülmüş bir takdim bu. Elimizden geldiğince bunu tabii ki bütün konuşmacılarımızın adına biz TÜREP olarak bu sertifikaları vereceğiz. Onların adına tam 350 kuş, keklik 175 ve 175 sülün şeklinde efendim. Bunlar sizlerin adına bizler tarafından bağış yapıldı. Bunu söyleyelim. Artık o ormanlarda tam 350 kuş sizlerin adına uçacak ve toplamda binlerce kuştan bahsedebiliyoruz. Tabii ki çok kıymetli bir sertifika. En azından anlamı çok çok büyük. Bu arada evet, bu arada Baya Büyükelçimiz Saeed Sani Ez-Zahiri de efendim Sayın TÜREP Başkanımız, Yönetim Kurulu Başkanımıza onların tabii takdimi, Baya Büyükelçimizin TÜREP Yönetim Kurulu Başkanımıza takdimleri, onu da hemen söyleyelim. Bu çok kıymetli, güzel takdimleri için de biz kendilerine çok çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Thanks for your beautiful present for us. Mr. Saeed Sani Ez-Zahiri, His Excellency, thank you. Evet, aynı zamanda moderatörümüz Sayın Öztürk SELVİTOP'a da efendim yine Baya Büyükelçimiz takdimlerini yapıyorlar. Eksik olmasınlar. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz onları da.